Historically speaking, I'm James and I'm a tweaker. All right. Figure out this mic here. Welcome to the 2025 CMA convention. Carol, after that energy and all that stuff, I'd say CMA's fucking back, right? Beautiful. Welcome. I sincerely hope that everybody here finds the experience at this convention that I found several years ago. That rowdiness, that chaos, all of that stuff that makes you feel home and not crawling in your skin. I sincerely hope that's your experience, and I hope that makes you want to come back. You know, Crystal Meth Anonymous is a fellowship that brings our history with us. Fletch touched on this. As you look around this room, there's banners upon banners with signatures. And Fletch touched a little bit on it's a starting point and a place to look back on. You know, if you're newer, you may not notice all of that. But again, I encourage everybody to sign that banner. But for the older members of Crystal Meth Anonymous, those banners hold a strong importance. You see, those banners are symbolic touch points in our journey in recovery. We can go to any one of these banners and we can look at specific time and we can flash back to that time in our fellowship and we can see where we're at. It's also a reminder that once a member of CMA, always a member of CMA, and you will always be with us.
That's right. Yeah.
That was pretty weak. You guys want to clap? You know, for me, these banners hold a significant importance. I signed my first banner in 2012. When I signed that banner, I was coming into this convention a couple months sober looking like Skeletor. Anybody relate? My sponsor dragged me to this convention because he didn't want me sitting in that halfway house by myself. And when I got here, there was an energy, there was a chaos. There was like, it's got to be bags of mess somewhere, right? And that's what I saw. And I connected with some old timers. And I connected with some newcomers, and I looked across the way at the cute chicks, because, dude, let's be honest, right? And I felt like this was my home. I had no idea what job I was going to do, what car I was going to have, what relationship I was going to have, because I didn't have any of that stuff. I had a sponsor and a halfway house. Flash forward 1 year later, 2013, I signed that banner on that pink cloud of 1 year sobriety. There's a woman expecting a child in my future, and right there in my vision is everything I've ever wanted. High on life. Flash forward to 2014, I signed that banner as a broken man because that blew up and I became a single father. Not only did I have to worry about becoming sober, but I had to figure out how to be a man for a little girl. And I had no hope. But what I did have was Crystal Meth Anonymous. And when I came here in those moments, I had the fellowship. Flash forward the year after that. I came into the convention, signed my name on that banner, having just lost my job that morning. Full of fear. And again, what did I have? I had the fellowship of Crystal Meth Anonymous to distract me from my bullshit so that God could step in and do His work. And on and on and on throughout all that stuff. So when you look at these banners, I sincerely hope you look at these with reverence and appreciation. You know, I spent the morning, because I'm the archivist, and I spent the morning setting up archives. And I really got to bond weirdly with some of the previous members. So I want to take a second, I want to speak directly to our old-timers. If you served Crystal Meth Anonymous from 1999 to 2015, can you please stand? Stand up. Stay up, stay up, stay up. 1999 to 2015, service, stay standing for me. I'm going to talk directly to you guys and I'll come back to everybody else. Being an elder in CMA is a difficult job. You come in here, you get sober, you get involved, you give your all to service, you deal with all kinds of stuff, the personality conflicts, chairs flying in meetings, all kinds of stuff. Not only that, you deal with life's responsibilities. I don't want to fucking do this, itis, right? You deal with all that stuff. But once you do that for a period of time, then you have this difficult task where you have to practice this thing called spirit rotation. And you shift back and let the new person in, rightfully so. and you kind of creep back and hope somebody's going to call you. And dare I say that being an elder statesman is one of the most difficult jobs in Crystal Meth Anonymous. But you all poured yourself into service for Crystal Meth Anonymous. So much so, some of you had to put on a dress for service. Not looking at anybody in particular. But what I wanted to do is you gave of your time to this small fellowship that was cracked out and looked really fucked up. You gave all your time to it. And you did so to stay sober, but you also did so with the hope that your time wouldn't be in vain. You did so ensuring that Crystal Meth Anonymous would have seats open for the new man years down the road. And I want you to look around this room and take it in for a minute. How many seats did we just see filled by new men? That is God's reassurance to you that your work was not in vain and that Crystal Meth Anonymous is here because of you. And I want you to take that in. Thank you for your service. Without you, we wouldn't be here. All right. Before I get rolling, Elisa's been waiting for this for almost a decade. I got to know my audience, right? This is an eclectic room, right? We have people from all walks of life. Tweakers are right there, right? Are my tweakers in the house? Hell yeah. So maybe you know that experience. The first time you get spun, it's all innocent. You got a burst of energy, right? Maybe you start off real innocent. Maybe if you're a chick, you're doing the love letters and that little flower thing you all do, right? Or if you're a dude, you're doing graffiti or something simple like that. There goes another tweaker. Right? Right? And then at some point, you've got a collection of pens and stuff like that, and you become an organizational tweaker. Do I got any organizational tweakers up in here? Hell yeah! Color-coded, sizes, different boxes, and all that stuff. Beautiful. But then you find technology. Do I got any technology tweakers in here? You're stuck on the phone playing video poker for hours on end, or God knows what's late at night, right? Mixed crowd. Can't really say it. Right? So my technology tweakers are in the house. Beautiful. But then you find this magical mouse tool, right? That's going to solve all your problems called the screwdriver. Do I have any screwdriver tweakers in here? Well, you know what it's like to take apart all this stuff and you're going to put it together and you're actually going to make it better and you're going to combine this microwave with this TV and all that stuff, but you never get around to doing it? Anybody relate? Beautiful. And then maybe you're that tweaker that realizes there's a whole world out there to explore, right? And you got to get around. Do I got any mountain bike tweakers? Hell yeah. You're stealing any bike you can get your hands on. You're in some kind of shed or backyard. You're taking them apart. You're trying to build this awesome badass bike, right? You got all these carcasses and stuff together. You get it together to go to the dope man's house, right? But as you're pedaling, you realize the seat keeps falling down, the chain comes off, and the handlebars fall off, right? So you got to throw it in the bushes because you're going to come back and get it. But you still got to get some dope. So you got to look for another bike. Am I the only one who rolled up to the dope man's house at 3 a.m. on a 20-inch pink bike with tassels? Hell yeah, y'all in the house. Beautiful. But in your journeys, you find these things called goodwill, right? And the treasures of the donation drop-off. Do I have any donation drop-off tweakers? Hell yeah. Treasures. And one of those treasures is a computer. Do I have any computer tweakers in here? You got all these computers taken apart, you're going to put them back together, and you're going to use them for God knows what in the middle of the night. Can't say because kids are here, right? Beautiful. Beautiful. And I can go on and on with the funny stories, but usually at this point, you start lerping, you start doing crime, you start hustling and stealing, and it starts to go downhill with the shadow people, right? But it sounds like my tweakers are in the house, right? All my alcoholics in the house. Holy shit. Maybe you know what it's like when you first start. It's just fun, right? At a party or whatever, you're just going to do it on the weekend. It's all good, right? You do that for a while, and then somewhere along the line, it becomes more than just the weekend. It goes into the week. Anybody relate to that? Beautiful. Do I have any teleporting alcoholics? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Getting a little too drunk, blacking out, and waking up in a different time zone? Beautiful. Do I have any alcoholics who woke up in their bed, rolled over, and thought, what the hell did I bring home last night? Yeah. What about the alcoholic who wakes up in a cell, has to bang on the door to figure out what the hell they did last night? Hell yeah. Do I got any panhandling alcoholics up in here? No? We don't like that type or what? You're my dude. Alright, my alcoholics are in the house. So I got any stoners for life up in here? Hell yeah. God-given, natural. That shit should be legal. You got your pipe collection, paper collection, all that stuff. Anybody relate? Beautiful. My crackheads. Are my crackheads up in here? Hell yeah. You guys know the experience. You get a sack, you get it, make sure that you get every bit in the pipe, you smoke it all up, and then you realize after it's gone that you probably did drop some, so you hit the carpet, and you start surfing like a shark, and you find some. You throw it in your pipe, you light it up, only to find out it's a toenail. Yeah. My crackheads are in the house. Do I got any heroin addicts up in the house? Hell yeah. Maybe you guys relate to the experience doing a blast of heroin, getting a burst of energy, you're going to clean the house only to nod out with a rag in your hand? Yeah. Anybody relate to the experience of the skin crawling and you get a brush and you scratch yourself raw? And I can go on and on about the shitting yourself and all that other stuff, but it really does suck being an heroin addict, right? But it sounds like you're in the house. And I can go on and on and on with these funny things with the pill addicts and the psychedelics and all the different other stuff out there. But I got to be honest, it is one of the coolest fucking experiences in the world to stand up here and hear so much laughter out of you all, because you are the hopeless dredge of society at one point. How fucking awesome is that? But there was a point to all that stuff. And the point to that was, first and foremost, welcome to Crystal Meth Anonymous. And that wasn't identify as a crystal meth addict. That was, we don't give a fuck what your ism is. We give a fuck whether you don't want to do crystal meth. Plain and simple. So don't ever let your ism keep you away from Crystal Meth Anonymous. We have some alcoholics who've never tweaked. And they're just as welcome. Okay? The other thing is if you laughed at any one of those experiences, you instantly relate. The reason you laughed is probably because you've experienced that or seen it, and you're on the other side. You're no longer the type that's crapping yourself and doing all these things. You know, the point of that was to start to talk about the language of the heart. You see, when we get loaded, we start to build little crews. You guys, anybody here had a little crew or a clique you got high with? That was our tribe. It was our tribe of like-minded people who did that, right? And we got to break away from that tribe, and we got to get sober, and we come into Crystal Meth Anonymous. And sometimes we get too concerned with finding our tribe, and we look for the similarities and avoid the differences. And when we do that, we rob ourselves of God's tribe, which is Crystal Meth Anonymous as a whole. And what I want to encourage you to do is start to look beyond the similarity and differences. Start to look beyond the skin color, the sexual orientation, the demographic, all of that stuff. And start to listen to the language of the heart. The message of Crystal Meth Anonymous is simple. You never have to get high again if you don't want to. The way we achieve that is we work the 12 steps of Crystal Meth Anonymous, connect with a God, and do that. But in the meantime, we connect with the fellowship of Crystal Meth Anonymous. And the way we deeply connect with the fellowship of Crystal Meth Anonymous is through the language of the heart. The language of the heart consists of fear, shame, terror, bewilderment, anger, all of that stuff. It's the emotions, because I don't care what skin color you have, what sexual orientation you have, we all relate to those emotions and the feelings. That is the message of Crystal Meth Anonymous. Connect on the language of the heart, and you found a forever home where you can grow, flourish, and recover. Alright. You guys want to hear my story? Yeah! Damn, nobody's ever been that excited. Where's John at? He's heard my story like 50 million times. Alright, so growing up as a kid, life was a wonderful place. Or so I thought as a kid, right? It was only when I got sober that I started to unpack some stuff and know it was really a dysfunctional, effed up place. But as a kid and throughout my life, I blurted out and said it was a wonderful place. But really what it was my household kind of was unhealthy. My mom had her own issues, my dad had his issues, and what I did is I learned how to be outgoing. I learned how to be more comfortable at the neighbor's house. I learned how to find that security outside of my home. And I was outgoing and I was energetic. I was that Dennis the Menace looking kid until I was about 11 years old. At 11 years old, my parents divorced. You see, up to this point, they'd been fighting like cats and dogs, and come to find out they've been keeping together for the sake of the kid. And at 11 years old, my mom decided she didn't want anything to do with my dad, and she divorced him. And it was at that point she divorced my dad and proceeded to move a half a mile down the road. She also proceeded to have nothing to do with me. And see, at that point as a little kid, this is the language of the heart. As a little kid, I couldn't help but feel like something was wrong with me if my own mother, the one person in the world who has to have something to do with me, doesn't want anything to do with me. How many of you guys can relate to that language of the heart? Yeah. And see, that outgoing, that fun-loving kid, that kid died. I fell into this pit of depression. I gained up to 260 pounds at 13 years old. I was miserable. I was afraid of the world. I wouldn't look anybody in the eyes. I'd walk across the street. That's how I lived my life. And around that time, I've got an older brother who was in the Marines, but he got this beautiful disease too, and they kicked him out of the Marines. My dad was working all night and just doing his own thing. And my brother came to live with me. And so for the first time in my life, I actually had a father figure, male role model. And what he brought with him was this thing called alcohol. I'm sure you guys have all heard of it. I can remember being 13 years old, 260 pounds, miserable, afraid of the world, and that first time I took that drink, everything changed. None of that stuff was true about me anymore. Instead, I was energetic, I was outgoing, I could tell jokes, I could do all stuff, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to feel that spot. And I started to focus on doing that as much as I could. And then, of course, he brought the weed. I became a stoner for life, listened to the Bob Marley and all that stuff. Right? And I'm doing this, and I'm building a relationship with him, and I come home one day, and he's in the living room in a circle with a bunch of people who look just like us. They're passing a glass pipe. And because my brother's doing it, it's got to be okay. And I don't ask any questions. I just hop in the circle. You know the deal. New guy with meth and a glass pipe. You don't let him light it himself. So they held the pipe and they lit it for me, right? Yeah. You guys know the deal. The first time I got spun, I can't tell you very much other than I got a lot of stuff done and I really liked it. And see, from that point on, I had a couple of things. I had the energy, I had the outgoing confidence, I had all that stuff, and I had a purpose. And so I started doing that, and I started connecting with that crew, and they were running and gunning, doing all kinds of hustles. Right? Robbing and stealing, breaking into houses, stealing cars, boosting. I can go on and on through it. And you see, where I'm at right now in this little tribe of misfits is I'm that guy that just wants to fit in. And I'm that crazy effer in that group that you just think is going to get us all locked up. Right? Because in my mind, I thought if I go crazier than everybody else, I'm going to get more respect, I'm going to be more welcome. Right? So I start doing that. You see, from the age of 13 to 19, that was my sweet spot getting loaded. That's where there was no consequences. Sure, there were consequences, but they didn't register with me. But it was fun. You guys know your sweet spot? When it was fun, everybody has it. But at 19 years old, the consequences came. And I was arrested with 19 rifles and a bunch of handguns. Shipped off to the Peoria police station, handcuffed to that pink wall. You know, and I roll in there and I don't think anything's wrong. In fact, they got nothing on me. I ain't saying nothing, right? And so I go through that process. I get sent into the sheriff's jail. And I go through that process. I get sent to Durango at that time. And I'm sleeping it off. They wake me up in the middle of the night. They tell me you're kicked out. They told me the charges were scratched. I didn't know what that meant. I thought you ain't got shit on me. Let me go, right? So I get out and I continue doing what I'm doing. Only to have a sheriff knocking on the door with a grand jury indictment because they had to rework them. And so I go through that process, and by the grace of God or mitigating letters from delusional family members, I get put on first-time member probation. Anybody here been on probation? I didn't even make it on probation 30 days. And I'm on the run. Because I'm running and gunning. I didn't even make it 30 days on the run. And I'm arrested in an upscale neighborhood on a Wednesday night at 3 a.m. on a bike with a backpack with bolt cutters looking for something to steal. And I'm picked up, and I'm violated, and I don't get no R, and I'm sentenced to a year in county jail, Tent City. And I roll into Tent City, and I'm not thinking about changing anything because at this point, everybody I had just hung out with had either been in jail or prison, and I thought this was credibility, right? I'm doing my thing. And so I go into there, and I'm doing my thing in there. I'm finding out who's doing what. I'm trying to be somebody. I'm fighting in this tent with the flaps down. I'm running cigarettes from this jail to the next one. Not thinking about changing anything, just marking the days off till I get out. And when I got out, I found the same crew, and I was running and gunning again. I'm not even out of custody for a year, and then I'm locked up again. This time I'm sent to prison for 3.5 years for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon and a bunch of other stuff. And again, consequences be damned. I don't view it that way because now I got a DOC number. Who here has a DOC number? How many of you all have looked at it as a point of pride in the past? That's where I was at. And see, because I have gun charges and aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, I was shipped off to Dakota, which was a 4-yard at that time, or 4-yard at that time. And I went in there and I got in the gray little box, the door slammed, and I'm not thinking about changing anything. Instead, I'm still trying to be somebody in there. I'm running and gunning. And it was in there that I found the experience of slamming heroin and crystal meth inside a box that where you only have rec time 2 hours every other day. And I don't know if you can relate to being in a little concrete box with some guy walking through the window periodically where you got to act like you're fucking sleeping, but you're actually doing God knows what, right? Anybody relate? And so that's my experience. Halfway through that sentence, I thought I needed to get my stuff together. And so I created this plan with the CO3. I'm going to move to the other side of the town. I'm going to stay away from everybody I've ever known, right? I'm going to get a job. I'm going to get a car. I'm going to get a girl, blah, blah, blah. Who created a plan when they were getting out of prison? Anybody? Hell yeah, I got out. And I started to realize I had a problem with crystal meth. Crystal meth was a problem. But alcohol, I'll tell you what, alcohol is not a problem, right? I've never been an alcoholic, right? I've only been arrested when I'm on meth. Anybody relate? Yeah. So, why can't I drink a little bit here and there? I'm going to be able to control it. And so I do that. I start to drink here and there. 1 tall can turns into 2. 2 turns into a 40. 40 turns into a 30-pack. And then next thing you know, I've lost everything again. And now, because I'm so far into a hole, the only thing I know how to do is rob and steal and lie and cheat and hustle. And I need some meth to get me going on that one, right? And I'm not out of custody 1 year, and I'm right back at Sheriff Joe's place, back on my way to prison. Wondering what the hell happened because I had a plan. What went wrong? And I went through that experience, and at this point, nobody wanted anything to do with me. And so when it comes time to get out of prison, I've got a parole to a place called a recovery house. Anybody here paroled to a recovery house? No. Beautiful. I parole to this recovery house, and I get in there, and it's effing weird, right? They want you to wake up at 5 a.m. and do like a 1 day at a time type meeting. They want you to do all that stuff. They want you to get a sponsor. They want you to go to a meeting. Like, what the hell is that? Right? Because see, my view on recovery was if I had the job, the car, the girl, and money, I was a recovery all-star. Tell me, is my sponsor going to give me all those things? No. Is your dumbass meeting going to give me any of those things? No. Then what the hell do I need it for? You see, and that was my view on recovery, so I got really good at telling them, yeah, I called my sponsor, I made up a number, right? Yeah, I went to this meeting. Yeah, I did that. But I did whatever I wanted to do on the side to my agenda because, again, a solid recovery plan in my eyes was whether I had a job, car, girl, or money. And lo and behold, they catch on to me and they kick me out. And you know what? They're in the wrong. Not me, right? No, assholes, right? And I get kicked out. And I got that black hole on me. You guys know that black hole? I got that black hole on the inside where like I just don't know what's right or what's wrong, and I feel so alone in the world, and I feel so broken, but I don't know what the solution is, and I know I can't get rid of it, but maybe alcohol can get rid of it. And I drink some alcohol and it doesn't work. And then I go back to crystal meth. You see, where this got me is, this got me 28 years old with absolutely nothing to show for my life. And that's not a cute little generalism, like literally nothing to show for my life at 28. I looked at my Social Security statement. I hadn't even made over like $1,000 in 10 years. Right? Nothing to show for my life. And I'm living in this Chevy Lumina. I've got 3 restraining orders against me because I'm a good tweaker and I collect things. Right? And how I'm surviving is I'm running around going into all these stores with my best pissed off look, grabbing their merchandise, walking out as pissed off as I can look, throwing them in the car, backing out of the parking lot really quick, into the neighborhood, swapping the plate out, onto the next one, until I back into the dope man's house with my trunk open and I got credit. You see, and I'm sleeping in that car because I got nowhere else to go. And it was in that car that I started to realize that I may have a problem. It was in that car that I started to realize I may be an addict. And that terrified me because being an addict meant death. It meant a life of loneliness. Right? And that desperation, those feelings, that language of the heart, the hopelessness on the inside was on me where life didn't seem worth living. Has anybody ever felt that? You know what I'm talking about. I don't have to use any other words. And I'm in this car with the cardboard up over the window and I got my dope pipe. And I got a strong desire never to get loaded again. But I got this dope pipe. And even though my head and my heart lined up for the first time in my life where I didn't want to get loaded again, for some reason I can't stop my arm from bringing that pipe up to my lips, and I couldn't stop the lighter from coming up underneath it. And when I watched, it was like an out-of-body experience. It was like inside I was yelling, "Don't do this," but my arm kept coming up there. And that scared the shit out of me. And that made me realize I was a hopeless addict. If I was lucky, maybe I was going to get picked up and shipped off to prison for 20 years. If I was lucky, maybe to have the balls to yank the steering wheel into the ditch when I'm driving. If I'm lucky, maybe I'll have the balls to commit suicide. And it was that feeling where life wasn't worth living that in that car I did attempt suicide. And obviously, because I'm standing here today, you know I suck at committing suicide, right? Fair statement? Here's the deal. When I came to, I didn't want to get loaded. Don't get me wrong, I didn't stop getting loaded, but I still had the desire not to get loaded. And I rolled into a treatment center called Maverick House. You may have heard of it. See, this wasn't the first time I was there. This was the second time. Flash forward to the first time, I rolled in there like this tough guy convict, too cool for school. I'm rolling in here. I'm judging this lame, judging that, looking at this chick, all that stuff. The counselors are talking this. I got in a fight with Diane. But I'm in there being too cool for fucking school because I think that if I just do my time and get out of there, I'm going to be good. Well, that time before I left early. But this time something changed. When I rolled into Maverick House, I rolled in with like this defeat and a willingness to listen and a willingness to hear what people were saying. And I remember sitting in Maverick House as the H&Is came in. No offense to any fellowship, but I remember vividly at this facility, AA came in. And they were a little old. Yeah. Not my crowd. NA came in, and they seemed a little off, right? CA came in, and fuck, I don't know what they're on, but take it down a notch. Right? HA was there, they talked a little slow, but it was cool, right? But what I remember, like it was yesterday, is Crystal Meth Anonymous coming into that facility. And I remember it like it was yesterday. There was an old guy that looked like Santa Claus. His name was Jim. He's passed since. But he was like your favorite grandpa. And then there was this little dude that looked like he was in Dazed and Confused, called Dave, right? He's still around, but man, Dazed and Confused. And then there was this other guy who looked like a cop, right? And so these guys are like talking, they're telling their story, and they told their story in a way that I knew that they'd actually experienced it. They're not just BSing. And the cop-looking dude caught my attention. And see, I don't know about you guys, at this point I'm a convict. I'm also a grown-ass man. I don't need another PO. I don't need another cop. I don't need another SO. I don't need any of that stuff, right? I'm a grown man. I can figure this out. But for some reason, I found myself walking up to that old guy to ask him to be my sponsor. Yeah. And it was the weirdest experience. It felt like I was walking up to another man to ask him out on a date. What I didn't know is CMA at that time taught them never to say no and always put out when it came to sponsorship. And I met this guy, my sponsor. And see, what that guy did is he started to come into that facility. He took that blue book that we talk about, and he seemingly translated it from what was Chinese to me. And he did so by taking my experience along with his experience and morphing it into the book's experience and helping me to see all of that. And when I got out, he didn't ghost me. You see, this sneaky effer, right? He had me meet him at Sunlight of the Spirit. Anybody know Sunlight of the Spirit? New guy, fresh out of rehab, right? You know what I'm focused on? Finding a girlfriend. He tells me, meet me at Sunlight of the Spirit. I'm like, cool, he's going to hook me up, right? But no, we got to Sunlight of the Spirit, and it was a Crystal Meth Anonymous event. And I got further connected to Crystal Meth Anonymous, and I got to see the fellowship, and I got to connect with individuals who seemed like spiritual giants to me. And he kept dragging me around, so we'd go from this Sunlight of Spirit event to a pancake breakfast where this guy was speaking, right? And then we go over here to this meeting, we go to UCAN too, we go all around, and he dragged me to recovery while we did the steps. You see, he also modeled what service meant. You see, we talk about service and recovery. Sometimes we get that twisted. Service and recovery isn't just to committees or to a fellowship. Service and recovery is to the outside world as well. Did you stop and help that lady change her tire? Do you have a widow next to you? Are you going over there and helping her mow her grass? My damn sponsor had me pushing a lawnmower through his neighborhood to 4 houses, and anybody knows Glenn knows it was true, right? But as we went through these steps, I started to get a little bit more insight. And when he took me to step 1, right, I always thought that crystal meth was the problem. I always thought alcohol was the problem, right? If that is truly the problem, simple solution, stay away from it, right? But wait a minute, every time I've ever stayed away from it, why can't I truly stay away from it in the long term? My sponsor broke it down to me. Step 1 isn't about the substance. Step 1 is telling you that you got a fucked up thinker. And that you've continually gone off your thinker, and your thinker continually boxes you in a corner until you get loaded. And as long as you continue to run off your thinker and don't bounce your ideas off somebody, you will get loaded again. And for some reason I believed him. And then we went to step 2. Anybody ever done step 2? I don't know about you guys, but I got a problem with God. If there was a God, then where the hell was He during my life? If there was a God, then why did I go to church in prison and those creepy weirdos were there? If there was a God, then why did the guy with the Bible act like such a douchebag? On and on and on. So when I came here and you told me I needed God, I struggled with that. But what he broke it down to is, you didn't need to find anybody's specific concept of God. You just needed to find a concept of God that worked for you in the moment and let God reveal Himself to you as you go through your journey. Yeah. And I chose the sun and the moon because anytime I was anywhere in the world, whether it was behind barbed wire or anything, that was there with me. And I chose that. And throughout my journey, it's morphed. But then the trick bag happened with step 3. Anybody done step 3? Yeah. That's some bullshit, right? Because I'm in here and it's everybody else's fucking problem that I'm here, and now you're going to tell me it's actually my problem, right? And we did step 3, and I'd love to tell you I mastered it, but you all know that's a lie, right? My night's nickname is My Way. So, still working on that one. But we started going through these steps and some cool things started happening. I did my 4th and 5th step with him. I got brutally honest. He didn't judge me. He didn't kick me out of his house. He didn't look down on me. He said me too. And not only that, he shared worse stuff than I did. And then I did my amends, and I got some amazing amends experiences. I got to sit on the porch in Prescott with my grandmother and make an amends to her before she passed. And on and on and on, and my sobriety stayed on. But the one thing that also stayed on was my involvement in my service to Crystal Methodist, because it was modeled to me. Throughout my journey, I met a lot of interesting characters. You know, one of the most important ones is Carol. Carol is like the mother of CMA. She was one of the first to see potential in me. And every time I saw her, she continually had positive comments, no matter how much of a dumpster fire dumbass I was. She is the most loving person I know, even when you're an effing train wreck, right? So, pro tip, if you really screw up, come to Carol. She's going to respond great, okay? But as I started to connect with people like Zach and the Hat, and Tom, and Fletch, and Marlo, and Carol, and all these other individuals, I started to hear them talk. And one of the things that really caught my attention was the way that they talked about Crystal Meth Anonymous and of service. It was the stories they told in the early 2000s where it was just a bunch of people who jumped into vehicles and they were like a team, and they went to this meeting and that meeting and this, and they were connected, and they were throwing a fucking dance over here and trying to keep Zach's pants on over there, right? And doing all that stuff, right? But there was such a passion that you could see it was the good old days. And that attracted me to Crystal Meth Anonymous. So I started following in their footsteps, and I started being of service to Crystal Meth Anonymous. God gave me Crystal Meth Anonymous as a way to stay sober in life on life's terms. You see, that's my service life, but when we talk about my personal life, I got sober, I met some chick at UCAN too, I fell in love really quick, got her pregnant, she turned out to relapse, I ended up a single dad, dumpster fire, right? And then I went through the life experience of losing jobs, not having jobs, right? All that stuff. Went through the experience of death of family members, all of that. You see, the thing that looking back on Crystal Meth Anonymous is Crystal Meth Anonymous was always there for me as an option to turn to. When that relationship blew up and she relapsed, who was there? Crystal Meth Anonymous. When I was a single father, who was holding the baby flavor of the month? And you guys know the baby flavor of the month, all right? Let's talk about it. New baby. Everybody wants to hold it for the first month, and it's new baby, right? Everybody gets it? But who held my child so that I could recover? Crystal Meth Anonymous. He talked about being of service and gratitude. You see, I do the most for Crystal Meth Anonymous. And I think it's most misunderstood why I do the most for Crystal Meth Anonymous, why I have such a passion for Crystal Meth Anonymous, why I have such a passion for the old timers. It's not because I'm fucking bored because I got a bunch of shit going on. The reason I pay it back to Crystal Meth Anonymous and give my all is because I owe a debt to Crystal Meth Anonymous that I can't repay. You see, if it wasn't for Crystal Meth Anonymous, I wouldn't have the life I have today without a shadow of a fucking doubt. I don't even think with AA alone I could have this life. So when you talk about this life I have, where I have this amazing career, where I'm traveling to Hawaii, all over the country, working with people, you talk about this amazing house that I have, and these amazing vehicles, and these amazing wives, and yes, wife, sorry. But this amazing wife that I have, and yes, she does exist, she's actually here. You talk about these amazing kids I have, this 20-year-old who's becoming a firefighter, and this amazing 13-year-old or 11-year-old? I'm struggling, whatever. This amazing daughter that I have, right? I have been given a gift from God that came through Crystal Meth Anonymous. And so if you tell me that I need to stop doing Crystal Meth Anonymous and focus on that bullshit, I'm going to tell you to fuck off. The reason I'm going to tell you to fuck off is because I've watched people in these rooms do it time and time again and come back looking like Skeletor. And so what I want to tell you is as you do your program recovery, you get these things and you get this idea that I need to do less of this for this, you're fucked. Crystal Meth Anonymous teaches you that when you're of service to this, God will take care of that 100% of the time, and it's guaranteed in any of these old-timers' journeys. When I've been given a gift like that from Crystal Meth Anonymous, why the hell would I not put my all into Crystal Meth Anonymous? And what I hope is that you understand that and you find something to put your all in, because God has an amazing blessing to you all. Again, there's a lot of newcomers in here, and I love that energy. That was the energy I found during those readings. It was fucking chaotic. As a newcomer, it was like, fuck yeah, right? As an old-timer, it's like, shut the fuck up, right? Am I wrong? Sometimes us old-timers forget it. But I love that fucking energy, because that's the CMA I know. That's the CMA I want to exist, so that you can come in here and feel like you're at home. To the newcomer, welcome to Crystal Meth Anonymous.
Hell yeah.
You're in the right place, but let's not get it fucking twisted. Crystal Meth Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who want you to be here. And the beauty of this fellowship is this fellowship by design is designed to look you dead in the eyes. And when we look you dead in the eyes, we don't see any of the bullshit that you tell yourself when you look in the mirror when you wake up. We don't see the not good enough. We don't see the less than. We don't see the mistakes you made 16 years ago. We don't see any of that stuff. You see, what Crystal Meth Anonymous sees in you is unlimited potential with a little bit of guidance and a connection with God, and along with the fellowship, you are a fucking powerful person. And we desperately need you to tap into that power, because there's crystal meth addicts out there, right there, that are fucked off and don't know anything about Crystal Meth Anonymous. So again, when I say welcome to Crystal Meth Anonymous, you have no fucking clue what I mean by that, but I hope you stick around and find out the blessing of that. To the old-timers, I said it once and I'll say it again, thank you. I know what it's like to have to serve Crystal Meth Anonymous and have family responsibilities, deal with the personalities and all of that, but you stuck it out for a hope. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have a place to go. So thank you. To my peers, I pissed you off, I'm sorry. What can I say? I'm passionate, and I think my passion's misunderstood. Whether that's on me, it's probably on me, but whatever. Please understand that my passion isn't meant to be anything other than geared towards CMA and ensuring that CMA is the best version of Crystal Meth Anonymous 2 years, 5 years down the road, so that many more newcomers can come in there. I want to thank you guys for having me up.